Hey everyone, my name is Kit Cabello. I was just notified as the finishing of our recording of our interview with Suzie Dawson, one of the co-founders of PanQuake, that our YouTube channel has been suspended. So this is an additional recording of a recording that we did with Suzie Dawson. And I am very concerned about the fate of independent media and free-thinking media. So we decided to hold on to this interview and wait to upload it onto our main channel so that all of our viewers and subscribers can see it in its entirety. But this message is important. So if you're watching this, that means thankfully all of you, our viewers, our subscribers, our Patreon supporters, managed to get our original channel reinstated. But we're not out of the woods yet because the censorship is very real. So with that being said, this interview is very related to what happened to our channel. I ask all of you to please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Share this video. I think we have to look at different platforms besides YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. PanQuake has been dealing with a lot of challenges from Twitter. Suzie Dawson goes into great detail in the interview that you will be seeing. Again, this was all recorded, and we all just found this out now, what happened to our YouTube channel. So if you're watching it now, right now at this point in time, that means this video is premiering on our main YouTube channel, and we have a victory. But the danger is real. Thank you to all of our viewers and subscribers and Patreon supporters that have been helping us through. Please enjoy my interview with Suzie Dawson. Take care. Hello, welcome to a very special exclusive interview that we have here at Hard Lens Media. My name is Kit Cabello. Just to be very clear, in this day and age, social media plays a very important role in our lives, how we do business, how we communicate with each other. But sadly, with the aftermath of what we saw in the Capitol with the Trump rally, there's been a massive wave of censorship impacting content creators, be they on the left, right, in the center. And it's this weird passive censorship that's really starting to impact a lot of people's livelihoods, including those who are involved in independent media or those that want to speak out against a two-party establishment system. Joining me here in the studio or via online is Suzie Dawson. She's one of the lead co-creators of PanQuake. Suzie Dawson, thank you so much for joining us. For our viewers and subscribers, can you please introduce yourself and tell us what led to the idea and creation of PanQuake? And just let's go into the background of that.
Sure, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. As you know, PanQuake has been somewhat taking independent media realm of social media by storm over the last 2 months. We have had a pretty amazing reaction from the grassroots and from independent media to the announcement that we would be launching a new social media service. It is a short messaging service. It is on our own custom blockchain, and it seeks to take care of not just censorship, but actually providing proof of action around users' interactions and content that they post online, so that we can get rid of some of the gaslighting that's been going on from these big corporate social media giants against their users. In terms of how it came about, I like to think that Julian Assange has left a legacy in terms of calling for there to be a decentralized alternative to Twitter, and taking a hard stance also against Facebook. Julian talked about a filterverse of one being created around each social media user, whereby big tech platforms were filtering the content that we see, the content that comes into us, and then filtering the content that we put out and controlling both what we see and what others are allowed to see of our content. And PanQuake essentially is seeking to smash that filterverse, to make it so that there is no longer a barrier between the content creator and their audience. There's no longer a filter. There's nothing to restrict your social reach. We want to help you get the maximum amplification possible. We want to help you build a following that can't be taken away from you, a following that you can prove is intact and has not been meddled with or manipulated the way that we're seeing happen on these big platforms.
Now, here's the thing. I like what I'm hearing, but there's let's look at the critics when they're going to be talking about PanQuake. They're going to say, well, how can it really compete against something like Twitter or Facebook, something that is a well-known name? These are companies that definitely play a big role in a lot of people's lives. Why do you think people would be more interested in this other alternative than, let's say, with Facebook or Twitter? Now, of course, I have my own personal opinions about both those platforms, but there will be pushback from critics who say, well, this sounds like a good idea, but it's not going to work. People aren't going to flock to it. What's your take on that?
Well, that depends entirely on what your definition of success is. When we ran the numbers, we realized that we don't need to shut down Twitter. We don't need to become Twitter. We only need 1 in 20,000 Twitter users to move to PanQuake for us to be a wildly successful service. And 1 in 20,000 Twitter users is a very reasonable and viable goal. It's one that we can reach relatively easy and in a relatively quick span of time. So it's not that we want to have 300 to 600 million users. It's not that we want to have 2 billion users and replace Facebook. Actually, what we want to do is take people who are spreading really important messages, and in some cases who are taking risks and making personal sacrifices to spread that information, and to network them together with audiences in a way that they are not interfered with and their messages are not interfered with, and provably so. Because through blockchain technology, I can prove I sent this message. This message hasn't been interfered with. It hasn't been changed. The content hasn't been manipulated. I can prove I followed Fiorella from ConvoCouch and she followed me. And so we don't have to wonder, did we get unfollowed from each other, as I saw happen today? I was unfollowed from her. She was unfollowed from me. I could easily have thought, oh, maybe Fiorella doesn't like me anymore. Or she could have thought Suzie doesn't like me anymore. But neither of us had unfollowed each other. Somebody, whether it is moderators on Twitter or whether it is some other nefarious dark agency behind it, somebody is interfering with our relationships and with our friendships and with our communications and our messages. And they don't have the right to do that. They do not have the right to prevent our freedom of expression and our freedom of association. Those are inalienable human rights. And so PanQuake is bringing the human rights back to the communication space. Right.
So, again, that is fantastic. And also shout out to Fiorella Isabel as well, who's done fantastic work on the ConvoCouch as an independent reporter, and shout out to all of our fellow colleagues as well. So with that being said, I just want to ask just a yes or no question then for this particular, because it's kind of related. And I'm very sorry that you were unfollowed and she was unfollowed by you as well. But let's look at this one tweet from Tulsi Gabbard, where she was basically thanking Hillary Clinton for being the queen of warmongers. And this is something that I have done. I've lost count now, but I've constantly have the rare pleasure of reliking a tweet. Now, I've never dealt with that before on Twitter, but I guess Twitter has given us all that special privilege of just reliking that tweet over and over and over again, which is something unheard of. The only way I can think of reliking a tweet is if I don't like it, and then I hit the relike button again. So for PanQuake, if you like something, it's one and done. If you share something, it's one and done, and it's not going to be censored or being said that it's from a secret state government or it's not a reliable source.
So every message that's posted to PanQuake is posted to our blockchain, which gives a blockchain address, a little link that's on the bottom of that message. And when you click on that little link, it takes you to the block record and what we call the block explorer. And sorry if I'm using too many technical terms.
Oh, no, that's fine. And please elaborate too. Don't hold back. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
What it is a permanent record that the content which you intended for public consumption has been posted and that your followers have been able to see it. And any moderation that is on the platform, because we will be moderating things like, I do not want to create a hub. Those types of things will be moderated, but the moderation itself becomes a record. So the entire user network can see this message by this account was moderated on this day at this time by this user for this reason. So it's total transparency around moderation of content, whereas Twitter is moderating with a Fiorella and I can follow each other. And we have no way to know when exactly that happened, who did it, why they did it. There's no due process, no recourse, just as with our accounts being suspended this week. Sorry if I'm jumping ahead here, but
that's perfect. And we will talk about that very soon. But go on. I want to give you your last comments. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sure, no problem. So any piece of content which you intended to be for public consumption is saved permanently to the blockchain, but so is any interaction. So someone that you follow, someone you reply to, someone you click a like, there is a record that you liked that. And if that like is removed or moderated in any way, there's a record of that moderation. And that's the difference between what we have on Facebook and Twitter. And I feel for you with regards to the Tulsi Gabbard tweet, because for the last 4 years, I have been retweeting and liking the tweet that is on the pinned tweet on Kim.com's timeline, where he talks about how the US has taken everything that he owns and yet he's never once stepped foot on US soil. I have retweeted that time and again. All of my retweets of WikiLeaks content, I go back to their timeline, they're all unretweeted. Christine Assange's content, same thing. And that's what I mean. This is not social media. This is anti-social media. This isn't about they're not empowering us to communicate with each other. They're preventing us from communicating with each other. And PanQuake is about smashing that paradigm.
All right. Well, before we start talking about what happened to your Twitter accounts, and it's very fundamental, and I want you to go into detail about when this was happening and what went on, I just want to kind of rewind back the clock to where there was a huge collaboration effort with PanQuake, Jimmy Dore, Nico House, Taylor Hudak, and so many others. I apologize if I'm forgetting people's names or I'm not giving a shout. I just want you just to address this. This was going to be a YouTube live stream, and I, for one, was looking forward to seeing the video, looking forward to observing and participating in the live stream chat. But yet, sadly and unfortunately, every time there was an attempt for it to go live, there was something preventing it. And it just was unavailable for anyone. And it's a very rare thing for somebody, unless there was like a weak internet connection. But it seemed no matter what, any attempt to try and make it go live didn't work. And then I believe there was also an attempt to get the recorded version out there. For our viewers and subscribers, what happened on that day? Can you just give us a little background of what was going on? What was the conversation taking place? And if there is a full version of that video, where can we find it too?
Absolutely. So at talkliberation.com, you'll find all of our event videos and visual media content. At panquake.com, you'll find all the information about our product, our fundraiser, and about our business as a whole and who endorses it, etc. So you're correct that those people endorse it. Also, Peter Lavelle, Lee Camp, Graham Elwood, Christine Assange, the mother of Julian Assange as well, and others, Garland Nixon, an ACLU national board member, etc., etc. So we're really lucky to have incredible support from amazing people. On January 17th, which is the event that you're referring to, we had put out a press release, which you had covered a few days prior, and we had some 3,500 people waiting to see that event live.
I was one of them.
And we had all of our guests, Jimmy Dore and everyone else, sitting in our stream waiting to go live with us for that event. And we had 3 stream engineers with us. We had multiple backup machines, multiple accounts, and had done everything we possibly could to be able to broadcast that. And we were broadcasting to a multitude of YouTube channels, including Jimmy Dore's own channel. He had given us the stream key, and we were also trying to broadcast to his channel. And we were just, our streams were completely throttled, and our video and audio was being separated so that it was constantly freezing, nobody could hear it. The data stream was being interfered with. And the packets were not dropping on our end, which means it wasn't our devices or our systems that were causing the disruption. The disruption was happening at the YouTube end. And so that taught us not to try to use YouTube. But the most amazing thing for us was that I jumped in the chats and was trying to let people know, sorry, we're having technical difficulties. We'll try and get this content to you as soon as possible. And I fully expected that people were going to be like, how can you make a social media application if you can't even do a live stream? But ubiquitously across the board, they weren't. They were going, screw YouTube. YouTube is censoring them. Screw Google. Google is censoring them. Like they recognize that this is the thing. The public has been subjected to so much sabotage, digital sabotage, so much censorship, so much interference, so much manipulation that they now actually recognize when it's happening to independent media and content creators. So rather than them hating on us, it went the other way. They actually hated on the big platforms who were preventing us from streaming the content. And then this deluge of people started changing their Twitter profiles and banners to PanQuake logos and PanQuake banners. And it was the most incredible thing to see. There was this massive outpouring of support. And because we still couldn't get the launch video out or the content out, we went ahead and just released the domain, just said, go check out panquake.com. This is what we were going to unveil tonight. Here's our page. We're going to need to raise donations so we can fund the build. And we had thousands of people hitting our site. We had thousands and thousands of dollars in donations before they'd even seen the launch video, before they'd even heard about what the platform was that we were delivering. They were so upset at the sabotage of us that they just showed blanket support for us. And that was the most incredible moment for our team when we realized the internet has our backs. Like the tech giants are screwing us over, but the internet itself, the users have our backs. And that was just an incredible experience.
You know, watching that live stream and see it constantly getting throttled. I mean, it's something we're very familiar with. We here at Heartlands Media were shadow banned for some time, and it was a very and we you know, no matter what, especially if you're on YouTube, it's very precarious. You got to be careful whose name you can and cannot say. Unfortunately, the censorship is very real because the YouTube algorithm will pick up on anything or anyone that doesn't go along with its milquetoast ideology at this point. I mean, it's really depressing to even see that. But I, for one, was looking forward to it. I know that when before PanQuake was about to go live, we here at Heartlands Media gave a shout out to it. I was looking forward to giving my thoughts and analysis of the entire video, but sadly YouTube took it down. So then my question is, when it comes down to live streams that are going to be challenging the status quo, or either that covering stories that are going to be, you know, deemed not favorable to I guess the large tech giants, PanQuake is an open platform for people to share, you know, stories that, you know, corporate media normally will just walk away from. Is that correct?
PanQuake respects freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and freedom of association. And that's across the board. I mean, I have friends who are on the left, I have friends who are on the right, I have friends who are, God help them, in the center. I have friends who don't care about politics at all and don't want to talk about it. My own sister wouldn't let me talk about politics at the dinner table. There's, you know, I have family members that are just like, I don't want to know, you know, I want to talk about the knitting club down the road or like my bowling club or something. So this PanQuake is for everybody, whether you care about politics or whether you don't care about politics, whether you're using social media to educate people or whether you're not. If you're just posting pics of your breakfast, fine. Post pics of your breakfast, you know. It's about letting people live. It's the live and let live. I don't ever want to have friends that are all in one little ideological box that all believe the same thing. And if you step outside that box, even one's excommunicated for life. Like, I don't want that. I want people to be free to be themselves, and I'm not going to sit in judgment of them for that.
All right, now let's deal with some of the breaking stories that is happening right now to PanQuake. And I would like for you to start from the beginning, because again, this is a recorded interview and anything can happen tomorrow. But as it stands right now, and please name these accounts too, anyone that's been associated with PanQuake, or at least the PanQuake on Twitter, has either been suspended or it's been removed. What exactly happened? I want to understand the time frame, because this was brought to my attention not only by yourself, but people who are part of the Heartlands Media Discord. People have private messaged me this on Twitter as well as other social media platforms. Let's start from the beginning. What happened, and also what's been your communication with Twitter, and what's going to happen afterwards, like next week, or what's your plan on at least getting word out for PanQuake? Because it looks like, as it stands right now, at least on Twitter, there is a big movement to just silence it and remove PanQuake as a whole. Like, what happened? What was Twitter's response? And what's going to happen the next few days? Because, again, this is a recorded interview. Anything can happen tomorrow.
Well, very interestingly, Twitter has been in the hot seat at antitrust hearings for some years now. As far back as 2017, 2018, Jack Dorsey has been called to testify before Congress about whether or not Twitter is a monopoly. And his primary argument for why he believes it's not a monopoly is that allegedly, according to him, it supports competition in the social media space. So he claims to want to foster more competing services and wants them to have the space to grow. So it is really interesting to see that last weekend, before yet another live stream event for PanQuake.com, we were doing our first delivery meeting where we were showing our community the progress that had been made on developing the platform. And within, I think, 24 hours prior to that scheduled public event, Twitter wiped out all of our accounts. So they wiped out our main PanQuake account, which is pan_quake, our backup account, our development team account, our user support account, our PR account, all just wiped out in one fell swoop. Suspended, not restricted, not locked out, but actually suspended. And we made a song and dance about it, and a lot of people started retweeting that. I think I got 500-600 something retweets on it in a very short space of time. Lots of people tagging Twitter support and demanding to know what's going on. But I'll give you a tiny bit of an exclusive about what happened, and that's that a mainstream media reporter from a major US cable network picked it up and went to Twitter and asked for official comment. Twitter's official response as to the banning, essentially banning of a competing social media product. And immediately after that inquiry, Twitter unsuspended all of the accounts in one fell swoop. So we got them back, actually, except 2 of them. We got 5 back and 2 remain suspended for reasons I do not know. And Twitter then the following day actually emailed us an apology, said it was a mistake, we're sorry for any inconvenience caused, but it was a form letter though. They didn't put a name, there was no name of someone who we could converse with or anything like that, just this form letter. It was all a mistake, sorry, didn't mean it. So we responded back, that's great, but can you please unsuspend the 2 accounts that you've still left suspended? And we've had total silence from them. Today, our official accounts, the majority of them, which we have access to, are still working, but our social media admin for our official PanQuake account just got wiped off Twitter, just got suspended minutes before I've come on with you today. I can assure you that our social media admin was not engaged in any conduct other than normal promotional activity of a competing social media product.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. So I think as a follow-up, what's the groundwork look like for PanQuake right now for users to be involved? How else can people share this information? Because it looks like, again, PanQuake is in a precarious spot on Twitter. Is this the same on other platforms, let's say Facebook or Instagram or even anything else? Because I think at this point there's a massive wave of at least silencing the other voice. I mean, there is, of course, other platforms like Rockfin that it's still taking off. But even when it comes down to it, there seems to be, at least amongst larger social media platforms, the need to get rid of anything else that will challenge their narrative or their control of how many people get to use their platforms, and they want to get rid of anyone else.
Well, look, I think it's just obvious that whenever you challenge the status quo, and particularly when you push outside the bounds of what they want to see happen or what they think is acceptable or what their vision of the future is, you can expect some serious pushback. And that pushback is going to come in all a number of ways. It might be financial, it might be legal, it might be some type of corporate intelligence or infiltration or smear campaigns or whatever. You can expect all of these things to happen, but that none of that is a reason not to do it. In fact, all of that is a reason to do it, because we don't want to live in a world that is controlled by those nefarious forces. We want to live in a world where we have solutions and tools that we have built ourselves for each other for the right reasons, and that that enforce and protect our human rights, as I said. So PanQuake.com, first and foremost, is a user-supported network. Our entire business model is about not turning our users into a product, not selling their data, not spying on them in their browsers, not even collecting their data in the first place, let alone selling their data. No advertising on the platform. We're not accepting any corporate money. We're not accepting any VC money. We're 100% user-funded, and every single aspect of the design of our product is focused on serving the user, because the user is our customer, the user is not our product. So we need people to support us, absolutely, because it's the support of users that is giving us the resources to be able to build this product in the first place. And as I said, we just had a delivery meeting last weekend. We have monthly delivery meetings where we are completely transparent with the public about exactly the progress that we have achieved, what our next steps are for the following month, exactly where we're at. We've got development pathways and technical documentation that we've released, architectural documentation's released. So if you are technically inclined, you can check that out. Actually, my pinned tweet on @Suzie3D right now on Twitter has a lot of that information, lots of slides of technical documentation. So you can see we know what we're talking about, we know what we're going to do, we know how we're going to do it. But the when we're going to do it comes down to support from everybody. We've got the skilled people, the dedicated people, and the brave people, but we need the public, we need the users who want this better social media future to crowd around us and help carry us on this journey so that we can deliver this product for everybody.
And I think before we wrap this interview up, I kind of want to ask like a two-part question. Number one, what protections are you, or at least are you prepared to protect yourself from maybe being deleted by any other larger tech giants? We saw what happened with Parler, where it was disappeared. And I want to make it very clear that there's a big difference between Parler and PanQuake. I mean, there's two separate things altogether, but there was, coverage of where that entire site was just Thanos snapped out of existence, and it's something that frightens a lot of people, because that means everyone's on the chopping block. It doesn't matter, your political ideology. I mean, the censorship is very real. What are you doing to make sure that PanQuake doesn't go down that pathway, that it doesn't get disappeared overnight? And then number two, for our viewers and subscribers, where can we learn more about PanQuake? Where can we find you online and social media? Where are some dedicated places where we can learn about it, and dare I say it, even set up Harlan's Media on PanQuake, so that
that'll be so cool.
Yeah,
that'll be great. I love that. I've loved watching your show. Actually, I found you because you were promoting PanQuake, and then I saw that you were covering stuff involving my friends, involving Jimmy Dore and Chris Hedges, and people who I, am close to and have studied their work for years and worked with. And I was like, these guys are amazing. Like, these are my people. And that's why I was so happy to get to come on here with you today. So in answer to your questions, first and foremost, we're not hosting in the United States. And we're not basing our business in a Five Eyes country. So we have registered our business in multiple jurisdictions, which are outside of the reach of the US or the Five Eyes as a whole. So that's the first. In terms of sustainability planning, that has been going on for us since day one. Our very first questions were, how do we make sure they can't shut us down legally? How do we make sure they can't shut us down illegally? How do we make sure that we protect the assets and resources of the business? How do we protect the network, and how do we protect the data? In terms of hosting our data, our service, I like to say that our hosting rhymes with Iceland. That is where we, in fact, will be hosting all of our data and our services, and indeed already are. And Iceland, of course, is on geothermal as well. So for those people who are concerned about blockchain and energy consumption, you can rest assured that in our case, that's not applicable. We are on geothermal. And in terms of the users, we protect the users by not IDing them and not profiling them. So when you sign up for a PanQuake account, we don't ask you for an email address. We don't ask you for a mobile phone number. Our accounts are anonymous by default. And if you elect to self-identify as a real person, that is your choice. And you can verify your account yourself if you wish to tie yourself to your other social media presences. So I will want to tell people I'm Suzie 3D on Twitter. So I will write a tweet on Twitter that says my PanQuake account is @Suzie 3D. I will take the link to that tweet, about my PanQuake account. I enter it into my PanQuake bio, and people can click through from my PanQuake bio and say, oh, this is the real Suzie 3D. I don't have to apply to be verified. I don't have to have some authority deciding whether or not I'm allowed to be verified as myself. I don't have to wait. I don't have to email anyone. More importantly, as I see some services are doing, I don't have to give photos or videos of my face and give facial recognition profiles. I don't have to take copies of my photo ID front and back, as I see some services are demanding in order to verify. To us, this is an anathema. We don't want your data, and because we don't want your data and aren't collecting your data, that means we're not obliged to hand it over to anybody, and we're certainly not commercializing it or selling it to anybody, because ultimately this is a group of privacy activists that have put this platform together. We believe in privacy. We believe in protecting you and in privacy by design. And I would just finish up with saying that one of our core people is Sean O'Brien, who's the founder of the Privacy Lab at Yale University. And some people say, oh, Yale, that's a big money school. Well, actually, no. If you look into Sean O'Brien's work, he has been doing the most incredibly righteous technology and privacy work on the planet, particularly around the way that apps and user data are being abused for drone kills by the US military, just as one recent example. He is the absolute top of the top in privacy by design in terms of software and technology. So we are really lucky to have that caliber of privacy activists involved in this project.
And then finally, where can our viewers and subscribers learn more about PanQuake, find you online and social media, so that way they can learn more about you guys? And hey, like I said, maybe there could be a Hard Lens Media on PanQuake pretty soon.
That is so exciting. PanQuake.com has all the details about how to become a member of our community. I think we're at somewhere around 1,700 or 1,800 people who've donated so far. We've had 700,000 hits on our website. We've generated a ton of interest on social media, but we need more, because there is no mainstream media coverage of PanQuake. There is no corporate PR company. There is no, government or corporate sponsor. So it's down to us, the people, to promote this and to pull together and push it over the line. So PanQuake.com if you would like to join up and support us. TalkCollaboration.com if you just want to chill out and watch some videos and find out more about what this is all about. Pan_Quake on Twitter, provided that they allow us to remain there.
Exactly.
And Talk Liberation on Facebook. But in reality, the successes we've had so far have all been just pure word of mouth, grassroots support. So I'm not particularly concerned. When Twitter wiped our accounts out last weekend, we got another few $1,000s in donations instantly. We got, hundreds more followers on the accounts once the accounts were back up. And we got, like I said, our first US cable company, media company, actually showing interest in what we're doing. So I think that every time they censor us, they do us a humongous favor, and I would like to thank them for that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on our show, Suzie Dawson. I am looking forward to doing a follow-up, and I am interested in the future of PanQuake. And if there's any other future collaborations, please feel free to reach out to Hard Lens Media. And I think with that being said, I want to thank all of our viewers for joining us. My name is Kit Cabello. Peace to everyone. And now more than ever, let us all do what we can to build a better future.